We are delighted to have you with us today for our session, Communication-Driven AI Agents for Next-Generation Project Management. This session is going to be held by us with support of Oliver Wilken, who is sharing his wisdom with us today. Thank you for joining the PMI Germany chapter and the local group Darmstadt community. It is always a pleasure to see familiar faces, even though most of you are turned off cameras, but I saw very familiar faces, and that's very good affirmation and confirmation for us that we're doing something good. And decisions happen in meetings, risks surface in conversation, alignment is built in emails, chats, and discussions. And yet most project management tools still rely primarily on manual entered data, while the real signals of what is happening in a project, of course, as we all know, often live somewhere else in us, in the conversation that we do, and the noise that surrounds us. So today's session explores what happens when that gap begins to close. Oliver will introduce the concept of communication-driven AI agents, systems that can transform everyday project communication into structure insights. Drawing from real examples and live demonstrations, this session will explore how AI can support project professionals by turning communication into actionable project intelligence, potentially increasing productivity while preserving accountability and human judgment. As always, with our sessions, the goal is not only to learn something new, but also to spark reflection and conversation within our community. So please, you're invited to add to that. And before we begin, let me briefly walk you through how today's session will unfold and how you can participate during the discussion. We'll begin with a short overview of the suggested conduct, a brief glance of the chapter, our local group Darmstadt, and how we aim to bring relevant and engaging conversation to our community of project professionals. Right after that, we'll introduce our speaker, Oliver, and give you a brief glimpse into his impressive background. Then around 6:10, between 6:10 and 7:20, Oliver will be taking the virtual stage to guide us through today's topic. At 7:20 is expected from us to wrap with a few important updates. We'll invite you to rate the session and share your thoughts. We'll give you a preview of our upcoming events so you can make sure that you'll register for the upcoming events and you receive the PDU claim code. This is the suggested conduct. Please keep your microphones muted throughout the presentation to avoid, so we can avoid background noise. We kindly ask you to use your full name when logged in here, just so we can identify you for accurately for the PDU assignment. And if you'd like to turn off the camera, please do so. We enjoy to see your faces. Feel free to use the chat window to post any questions and keep the engagement going. Share your LinkedIn profile if you want to network. And you are welcome to reach out to us directly or to the speaker after the session. Please note that this session will be recorded by the organizers only, and any recording, transcriptions by the participants or AI bots is strictly prohibited. Founded in 2020 throughout the merger of 3 former chapters, our chapter now spans 5 regions and more than 25 local groups. We are proud to represent a dynamic community of approximately 11,000 PMI members across Germany, coming from 43 different countries. That's astonishing. Nearly 5,000 of those are part of our chapter diverse and international network. Our work is powered by a dedicated team of over 150 volunteers who bring energy, expertise, and passion to everything we do. Together, we are committed to supporting the project management, of course, the profession by empowering leaders, facilitating continuing learning sessions like this, creating spaces for connection and collaboration, and by driving social impact through projects and local initiatives. Now, let me tell you a little bit about who we are. Local Group Darmstadt, for those who don't know, is an English-speaking hub of my German chapter, is the only English-speaking hub, a community built by volunteers from 6 different countries, working together to create meaningful learning spaces for professionals across borders. We host 2 free online events every month, open to all, And once a month, we gather for a roundtable conversation in person. So if you're in the area of Darmstadt, please join us because we believe in the power of connection, both virtual and human. Since we started, over 3,300 people have joined our events, and more than 110 of them have shown such commitment that they have attended 10 or more sessions. That's a true sign of, of important impact we are doing. And we also keep the conversation going after the sessions on LinkedIn, where our community currently is with 520 people, our members. And continues to grow and support one another. Now, behind all of this is a team of dedicated volunteers. Thomas Valenta, joining us from Bad Kreuznach in Germany, sorry for the pronunciation. Florian Adrian from France, based in Darmstadt. Mohammed Razai, originally from Afghanistan, also in Darmstadt. Tufik from Lebanon. Oля Stefanovska, who is residing in Stuttgart, originally from North Macedonia. Almira Hasanovic, based in Butelborn, originally from Montenegro, and myself, Maria, based in Brussels, originally from North Macedonia, raised as Greek, raised in a small city called Bitola. Together, we shape this local group with passion and purpose, and we're glad you're part of it tonight. It is now time to turn our attention to what we are all here for. It is a great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's session, Oliver Wilken. Oliver is an AI entrepreneur and technology leader with more than 8 years of experience across artificial intelligence, research, engineering, consulting, and project leadership. He is the CEO and co-founder of Alco, a company focused on transforming communication and real-time project insights, helping organizations better understand collaboration and decision-making within project or complex projects. Before founding Alco, or AI Co, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Oliver worked as a manager at Define, where he led AI projects in industries such as telecommunication and energy, applying advanced data and machine learning approaches to solve real-world business challenges. Earlier in his career, he was a deep learning engineer at SAP, contributing to the development of innovative machine learning solutions and patented technology. Sorry, I see many messages on the same spot. Okay. Oliver is holding both MBA and Master of Science in Artificial Intelligence, a combination that allows him to breach the worlds of strategy, technology, and innovation. And outside the world of AI and entrepreneurship, Oliver is also a passionate kite surfer, a sport where timing, balance, and momentum matters just as much as they do when navigating innovation and emerging technologies. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Oliver Wilken, who will guide us through today's session. Oliver, the stage is yours.
Thanks a lot, Maria.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Pronunciation is IQ, but we recognize that it's confusing with the capital letter I. So it's
Indeed.
a combination of AI and coordinator. So
AI
this is how the name comes up. Yeah.
Cool. I see. Apologies for that.
Don't worry. We recognize that caused some confusion, so we switched it to small letters recently. Yeah. So let me share the screen and let's dive into the presentation. So okay. So let's start on communication-driven AI agents for next generation project management. And first, I want to give you an overview, over the different tasks, over the different topics I want to talk about in this webinar. And I first want to start with the different types of AI that are there and the historical development. So taking a small history tour through AI, starting from the 1960s. And we're doing that with the wave model. So the 4 big waves of AI that we had and that we are currently having. The second topic then will be AI in project management. So when we first understood what types of AI are there, we can understand how they are applied to project management. And for this section, I want to go into practical examples from the PMI. So there's one PMI course with practical examples for project managers, how they can use AI agents quite quickly and implement them quite quickly into their current workflow. The third part then will be communication-driven AI. So going from smaller samples on how to enhance your project management to something more holistic, and going to agents that are communication-driven. And there I will also motivate why communication-driven AI is especially important for project management. And the last part then will be on practical use cases. And this part will be split into two parts. First, the hands-on session. And the second part of it will be a live demo of IQ, which is a prime example of communication-driven AI for project management. The hands-on part will, I recognize that the hands-on part will be a bit tight, meaning that, it might be that not everyone is able to follow it in the same speed. However, if there is, if you want to have another follow-up session on that, where we just focus on the hands-on session and bringing your agent alive, we can do that. And I would say, yeah, Maria, I don't know how we should do it. Maybe it's the easiest to just put it into the chat if you're interested to have an extended session on getting your N8N flow to work. Apart from that,
Yes, I agree with you, Oliver. I think that's the best way. If there's enough interest, and I think there's going to be, we can schedule a follow-up session with a hands-on experience for people to just solely we can focus on that.
Exactly. Yeah. And like for the hands-on session, I also posted a document into the chat, which also shows the step-by-step manual to get the AI agent flying. Just for you, if you miss something from what I'm saying. But that will be for later for the practical use cases. So I would say with that, let's start into the presentation with the types of AI and the historical development. And as I said, we're looking at the 4 waves of AI. So I've visualized them here, and we're starting back in the 1960s, actually with the first commercial computers that were there. And these computers had first logic getters, and with these logic getters, it was possible for the first time to create rule-based models. And what was very surprising for me was that back then, even the first chatbot was invented, which was called Eliza. So also in the 1960s. And Eliza is a psychologist chatbot, meaning it plays the role of a psychologist, and the one who chats with the chatbot is the patient of the psychologist. And it was really only a simple set of rules that brought Eliza to life. For example, turning statements into questions, right? Like if somebody says, I am sad or I'm feeling sad, Eliza would ask, why do you feel sad? Or like if no real rule applies, what a psychologist could always say is, tell me more about it, right? That fits in almost every situation. And with that, like simple conversations were already possible. So this was the birth of artificial intelligence. Sorry, wrong direction. The next step or the next wave was possible based on bigger amount of data and also the computation power that was necessary. And it brought birth to the statistical models. So these are the models that are used widely by data scientists. I myself, at the beginning of my career, worked as a data scientist. I also have the background there in the area of predictive maintenance. That's why I brought it here for electrical grid supplier, saying which part should be maintained next because it has a higher failure probability. But everyone in this conversation most probably is in some way concerned by statistical models. For example, the credit risk scoring. In Germany, we have the Schufa. Schufa has data of almost every inhabitant in Germany. rating the risk score of all of us, and making one data point, so to say, of every inhabitant of Germany, um, taking into account where you live, how old you are, how many bank accounts you have, and so on. And by this data, rating how the probability is that you fail your credit or that you can pay it back, and creating different risk levels, so to say. And back when I was a bachelor student, we only had these two waves actually. So the statistical models were at the peak of the time back then. Was around 2014 or something. Like neural networks were there, but not really in the minds of people yet. And back then, in my bachelor thesis, we applied statistical models in our group to image data. So every pixel in an image is one data point. And later on, I still remember the day when the deep neural networks came out, which suddenly made it possible to get a lot more insights from images. So this was the big wave that we had. About all the possibilities that came up here, also concerning automated driving, self-driving cars. And at the beginning, these models were quite unreliable. So it was possible to differentiate 1,000 different categories here, which was definitely not possible with the statistical models that we worked on. So I still remember how big that step was. However, when changing one pixel, sometimes the output was completely different of the model. And throughout time, it became more stable, more and more stable. And today, at least in America, we have the first self-driving taxis, actually. So this is actually an image of Waymo, a self-driving car that you can order, for example, in San Francisco, and which just comes empty to where you order it, and you can get in and it drives you wherever you want. And even in Germany, we have some self-driving cars. So I'm from Hamburg, and in Hamburg, we have Moja, it's called. So there's still a driver in the car. However, the car is self-driving, so the driver is only there for safety. And might be that in 2 years we will have self-driving cars here as well. So you see, throughout time, the instability of these deep neural networks at the beginning was overcome, and we gotten to a point where we have impressive results already. And now the last wave, the transformers. So with the transformers, this is a new model architecture. Also, language processing was possible suddenly. At least at that scale, it wasn't possible before. The secret behind it is the self-attention layer within these models. I don't want to go into details. And now we're currently at some point on this wave. And I give you a little hint on where this is going currently and what the trends are. And in which direction we are heading. And I do it on the example of software development. So our startup, in our startup ourselves, we are working on software development, of course. Like I myself, not so much. Like I'm bringing in the expertise of project management currently. So I know how to develop, but don't do it. I don't get the possibility a lot anymore. However, our developers, they don't write a lot of code anymore. So 95% of our code at least is written by AI. And the task of the software developers is rather managing the agents that write the code. So telling the agents how, what they should implement and how they should implement it. And the agent do it. And it's still the task of the developer to check if everything was done correctly and take responsibility for the code that is pushed to the production framework in the end. And this is where also other jobs are heading. So software developers are definitely necessary to check if everything is correct and to distribute the task correctly to the agents. However, software developers are nowadays working very closely together with the software development agents. And we also see that, for example, a lot in customer service already and support. So customers of different products are already supported a lot by chatbots who have access to their data and can thereby support them very closely. And slowly the trend is also taking over for other jobs. And now the big question is, of course, I jumped over the learning here of that slide. So the learning is AI assistants are becoming an integral part of our professional lives. Now the big question, of course, is what will it look like in project management, and how is AI currently used in project management already? So the second section here that we are going to now is rather focusing on the current state and samples from the Project Management Institute, where they give project managers hints how they can directly use simple agents in their current workflow. And the PMI course that I'm talking about is the practical application of Gen AI. And there, in the course, for every project performance domain, one AI agent is presented as an example. So there are in total 8 project performance domains. And just to give you an idea and to maybe also motivate you, because I think that course is very nice, motivate you to attend it at some time, I want to present you one sample from the team section. And we are not going to implement it now, but I want to just show you what can be done with AI and go through it step by step. So for the team performance domain, the PMI proposes to create a development plan. That means for every stakeholder in the project, create a plan on which trainings he should be attending to be fit for the project in the end. And the first part of starting this AI is actually setting up a list of team members. This is a manual step because, of course, only you as a project manager know who's in your team. However, the second step is then already done by AI, and this is the step to let AI scrape all skills from LinkedIn. So for every team member, the AI checks one by one the LinkedIn page and checks which skills are actually there for this special stakeholder already. Then the next step would be for the AI to find out which skills are required for the project. And this can be done by uploading a project requirements document, for example, to the AI. This is actually something very simple you can directly do with ChatGPT or also any other project that represents what is done in this project, any document that represents what's done in this project, and ask the AI to find out what the required skill set is. In the third step of this workflow, fourth step of this workflow, a skill gap is detected. So we have the skills that are there in the team already, and we have the skills that are required. So the fourth step is to find out what is the gap, like what skills are missing. And based on that skill gaps, a development plan shall be proposed by the model, where the model for every individual team member or stakeholder in a project proposes a training and also like notes down several other things, like when the skills are necessary in the project, also giving a time window when the training should be performed, and as well a budget that is required for such trainings. So this would be an example, like one example of the 8 examples that are there for the training. I can recommend it, and it's also a nice way to get into the workflow management tools that are very useful if you want to create your own AI quickly. Okay, with that, I would go into a little more interactive part in this session. and start a little discussion on where you are already using AI assistants in your workflow. So anyone, welcome to contribute.
No one? There it is, Christoph.
I can just contribute one very stupid topic. I'm using AI assistants to generate meeting minutes out of meeting transcripts. So we have in AI in the company, which is a closed AI due to confidential information within it, and it contains a couple of agents for special topics. And one is, for example, is a meeting summarizer. We also, for example, have agents where you can optimize your CV descriptions. For example, we need to maintain our CVs in the company. So it's a CRO, a clinical research organization. So we are doing clinical trials. And so that's a very, let's say, stupid. I also have used it already for preparing slide decks for certain topics. So I enter the prompt and let the AI suggest breaking this down onto slide decks and like this.
Yeah,
This
very
for
nice.
examples, I'm using it.
Very nice, yeah. I'm using it a lot for meetings as well, yeah. That's a good point.
I see Patricia has her use to share with us.
Yes, so I am a mentor for STEM young girls, okay? So in order that they are studying STEM, of course, it's very easy to see that normally artificial intelligence is very biased, okay? Gender bias especially. And then we try to create our agents in order that they are somehow filtering the data. Of course, I mean, we cannot avoid bias at all. I mean, it's all of them, right? But somehow in order that the artificial intelligence knows that we are very sensible with the topic, okay? And then we are trying to create our own agents in order to filter the data, and then that we get as neutral as possible the information.
Nice. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
Indeed, bias is a very important element that when we are building AI tools that need to be considered. Gabriela?
Just Gabi. So I use it for literature research. So we have a company-owned AI, which is going through all the literature. I use this. I have like sources where I have placed regulations and laws so that I can cross-check. I use this to analyze big documents, or if I just get something to get a glimpse if this is relevant for me and I need to go through this more in detail, or if this is maybe a topic which is not important. I use this to write my, I would say, goal reporting. Which is nice, and also because I'm not a native speaker, and especially later in the day I get tired and my English is not the best, then I use this in order to have nice communication emails, so that's something. And I have also set up a specific profile where I ask to be very nice and polite and consider the different cultural backgrounds, and also have like critical thinking and what are the gaps I have, or what are additional aspects I maybe could throw in.
Very nice, yeah. You're using AI a lot then. Great.
Yep.
And I would say 2 more.
That's fantastic. Okay, we have Peter and Kai.
Yes, we also have an isolated AI. I think that's standard for at least bigger companies to protect their own IP. AI is very useful if you have large amount of data, literature whether it's patents or internal lab journals or something like this. So it's very helpful, especially if the text is the text input is in many languages. However, I have seen dramatic mistranslations of AI. So, for example, when it comes to the situation in the Middle East, they confuse hostage and hostage taker. And that, of course, changes everything. So many things are still very crude in the translation. And so you need to get some native speaker to control it, but to get the first view, it's often very good.
Yeah,
Very good
also
point.
my experience.
Interpretation is always added value because we cannot translate literally all the words and we need to interpret them. And for that, we need human. AI is still not trained for that, but it can get there. Sorry, Oliver.
Human in the loop is very important. Yes, definitely. Like in the end, it's not the AI making decisions and having the final word, but it can support us. That's definitely the case. Yeah.
We have Kai and Sadek if we have time for him. That's up to you.
We make time for both. Please.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. I will make it short because some of the topics that we are also using here at Verint are pretty similar to what we've already spoken about. Just one more thing that is really helpful to me is we are providing project program updates to senior or executive management at customer level. And we usually we have set up an agent where you can feed the current information about the different projects going on, and it's being summarized on an executive level with a RAC status or a RAC indicator, so that you can easily create a newsletter or a presentation slide deck with a few slides just to inform the executive management on the progress that we're making on a regular level. On the other hand, we have another agent that we can ask simple questions about our different products that is now then scraping all the documentation and getting all the information summarized together so that you can easily respond to questions you may get from the customer.
Yeah, very
really
nice.
helpful for us.
Yeah, that seems then the next level, kind of, right? Like not using ChatGPT only, but having real agents that are also having access to all relevant data in the company. Yeah, nice.
And Ayman, I don't know if you, Peter, still have anything to add because you have your hand raised.
Yes, I just a little things. I start with first of all, hello for everyone. I start the AI first as well, it was for the conversations, then about the lettering. After this, I'm using it as a reference for my researches, and it helps me give you a lot of reference. After this, I use it as a tool now because it's give me a good assessment when in my executive work, also in my research work. That's it is. As long as you thought about it as tools, you can handle it very well. I will not make it too long for you. Okay.
Yeah, similar. That's very great input. And similarly, I use it for risk assessment. I give information inside my tool and that I have created myself, feed it with information that I need, and also set the vocabulary that I usually use, the tone, the way how I collaborate and communicate with my peers and colleagues. So it keeps the tone when communicating and drafting for slides, for example, but definitely I'm using it for risk assessment and for forecasting. But that's for a small project, of course. And I'm reading the only comment that we got from Peter Patterson. One of the PMs at my workplace has been using AI to assist with improving workflows, especially as it relates to creating Microsoft Power Automate flows, the Power App. Understanding the coding language for those Microsoft application can be tricky for a new user. It has definitely helped them improve one of the paperwork submission signature processes. I personally do not use much AI in my daily work, he says.
Yeah, that's but also interesting use case. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And
Oh,
that's
great.
all the input that we are getting so far.
No, that's great.
That was a
Thanks
good
a lot
discussion.
for the input. Yeah, very interesting. So I would say let's jump to the next section already. Going from AI and project management, how it's used currently, to the trends and to communication-driven AI. And I want to motivate that with two statistics, this section. So the first statistic is I recognized already quite known within the Project Management Institute. It is from Gartner, and Gartner says that 80% of today's project management tasks will be automated by 2030. So for me, that doesn't mean that we lose our jobs. For me, that means that we are becoming a lot more efficient, like it's always has been in human history, right? So people are getting new tools and becoming more efficient in what they're doing. And of course, there are a lot of projects that are not done because of missing manpower that can be done in the future, maybe. So 80% more efficient is the one statistic. The second statistic is from the PMI itself, and it says that 90% of project managers' workload is related to project communication. And I found it funny because when we just started this meeting today, somebody of you said that he already had 8 hours meeting today. And I think the person who said it is not alone with that. I'm currently speaking to a lot of project managers, and also my project management experience in the last years covers that as well. Exactly. Project managers communicate a lot. So in the interviews I have with project managers currently, what I hear a lot when I ask them what their everyday work life looks like, they say, well, the first thing in the day is I'm checking my emails. Then I have a stand-up. Then my meeting marathon starts, and in between meetings, I'm writing mails and messages. And this is necessary as a project manager because you're managing changes in the project, you're managing problems, questions in the project that come up. And to coordinate that, a lot of communication and alignment is necessary. So now we have these two statistics. 90% communication, a big part of project management, or a lot in project management can be automated. For me, that definitely means that, like the AI in project management has to hop on the communication channels. It must know about the communication of the project manager. It can not only live within the project management tool like Jira or MS Project or whatever tool you're using. So communication is a central part of the future AI systems within project management. Having said that, let's look at that in a more detailed manner, how this communication-based automation could happen. And for that, I created a picture with the communication tools on the left side. So messages, emails, meetings, all the communication channels that we have as project managers. And on the right side, the project management tools like the project planning, reporting, budgeting, resource planning, risk log, and so on. So everything that we need as a project manager to keep the overview over the project. And in between, the agent that supports the project manager in what he's doing. That means if a message comes in, or if messages are written, they are read by the AI as well. And I have a concrete example here. So I prepared 3 concrete examples. For example, we get a message, the supplier is overloaded. What if the delivery slips? So somebody asked that question. And you as a project manager or somebody else might answer in the same chat, I'll check out with our IT. So what can the AI do with this information? So certainly the AI could already prepare an email, not send, but prepare at least an email for the IT department head or the IT team lead. In this example, I have another use case what the AI could do, namely creating a risk. We definitely have a risk here, right? That the delivery of that supplier slips. And documenting risks is very important because you have to monitor them and check regularly if how they behave, how the probability of these risks behave. Otherwise, yeah, well, if you miss something, that might have severe consequences for the project outcome as well. And with that as well, the mitigation strategy, right? I'll check with the IT team or with our IT means that, yeah, they are already preparing for a mitigation strategy here on what to do if the delivery really slips. Next example, so as I said, I have 3, would be Emma enters a vacation. So if you have a modern project management system that directly lands in the resource planning, and you as a project manager might not really even recognize that, depending on how many people or how many stakeholders you manage. However, the AI gets every information separately and can check the impact of every new information that's coming into the system, and also check if there's anything happening during the time period where Emma might be important. And in our scenario here, we say the user acceptance test takes place in this time period. And the AI might already create an email to ask somebody else to jump in for Emma and prepare a little handover, as maybe in some meetings or conversation, it was stated that for this user acceptance test, her knowledge might be important. Last example, this time a little simpler. In a meeting with a supplier, you might discuss the migration and find out that the migration is delayed. So what migration it is not important here. But what the AI could do already, it could adjust the planning accordingly. So saying, during the meeting, you already see what the implications of that new information is and react accordingly. So checking if the slack is enough for the task to move, or what other implications are there with this new information. So these are practical examples on how to integrate the communication part in your project with the project management tool or the artifacts. And with that, I would directly go to the practical use cases in the session. And as said before, this part is split into 2 parts. So the first part will be the hands-on session. There we will build our own flow, our own N8N flow to detect risks. I will go into detail in a second. The second part in the practical use cases is a live demo of IQ. And IQ is a prime example of communication-driven AI. So the product that we are currently developing in our startup. Okay, and with that, I would say, let's start into the hands-on session. As said before, in the chat, you find an instruction PDF. So in case I'm too quick or you cannot follow, you can also have a look there. And I will first give you a small overview on what we are doing. Maybe it's also not interesting for everyone to implement it yourself, but definitely it will be interesting for everyone to watch, because workflow automation is an easy way to create AI agents for many applications. So what we want to do is we want to create an agent that checks our mails and marks mails that are related to project risk. So this is how it could look like. So you see the different mails in our inbox, and everything that is related to risk gets this risk label based on the analysis of the AI. We will build the flow with a Gmail trigger, but also an Outlook trigger would be possible. So Outlook and Gmail, these are the biggest suppliers. So these are the 2 possibilities that are there in N8N, or at least the ones that I know of. Second will be a message model. In this case here, Gemini is proposed, but I found out that it's easier maybe to use even OpenAI. So we will do it with OpenAI. I jump over the next 2. We will see that then later. The last step definitely is to give the label based on the decision of the model. So if the model decides, so this email is related to project risk, we give that label to the message. And if it decides it's not related to a project risk, we won't give the label. Having said that, let's jump into it. And the first part of it is going on the N8N.io website. And N8N, as I said, is the workflow management tool, which can be used to create any AI workflows quickly without coding experience. And we want to select Get Started. So I'm already logged in, so I cannot show it step by step, but it's basically signing up for N8N, and there's a 14-day trial which you can sign up for, where you can use it for 14 days without giving any credit card information or any other information that is required. So with that, I would give you a little time and then go on with the next step. And as I said before, time window for creating the flow might be a little tight. So if you later on recognize that or recognize that you want to have a more detailed session, we can also organize that afterwards.
Anyone has any troubles, questions?
Yeah, anytime. Okay, then I'll go on. So the ones who tried it might already have the option to create their first workflow. And I will do that in parallel as well. Also, just shout in if I'm too quick or or if there are any questions. So I click on Create Workflow now and create a workflow for our risk assessment of the emails. And the first step that we have here is setting up a first node that initializes our workflow to execute. And in this case, we will do that with a Gmail node. But as I said, also an Outlook node is possible in this case. It's actually exactly the same, just not searching for Gmail, but searching for Outlook. But I'm using Gmail here, and I'm using then the on message received, which is also present for Outlook as well. And the first thing we are asked to do is to connect to our Gmail account. I already did that, but you can use create new credentials, and it's actually very quick to set up, like just a few clicks and the connection is there. So this is what makes N8N so powerful in this case to integrate easily with different softwares like Gmail or like Google Drive or all kind of tools. So I'm using my Gmail credentials here. I'm doing that for this demo with a dummy account. And I select the mode every minute. That means like every minute it checks for new mails that are coming in. And for every mail that is coming in, checking if there's a risk associated to that mail. And with that, the Gmail node is actually finished and we can directly test it. When I click Fetch Test, the latest mail is fetched and it's just checked which data is in that mail. So what is the text in the mail? So I click that here and I see the latest mail in my post box is a mail which actually is related to a risk. It says, "Hi, Oliver. It seems our supplier is overloaded. They do not reply to my emails anymore. What shall we do in case of a delay? Best Emma." Question mark too much, but that doesn't matter. And this is exactly what I have in my postbox as well. So this is my postbox here, and this is the mail that that was just read by N8N. And when I go back to the flow, I see we only have one node, that's the Gmail node, and one item was fetched. So the next node that I'm using is now an OpenAI node. And there we are using the message model. So I click here on plus, then type in OpenAI, and then select the first one, message model. And the good thing about N8N, the free version, is that for OpenAI, we have free credits. So you can click request free credits. I already did that. So I'm using now OpenAI with the free credits that are there for N8N. The next thing you want to do is choosing a model. And here I always select the GPT-5 Mini, but also other models are good. And so we have the free credits as credentials. We have the model GPT-5 Mini. And now we want to specify our prompt. And as you can see, like the OpenAI model is connected to the Gmail model. So Gmail is going into the OpenAI model. So I open OpenAI again, and I already see the input of that OpenAI is that mail. And I need to include that mail into the prompt. So I say email, telling the model that there's an email. And I just put in the snippet. So I see here is the text from the mail. So I can just drag and drop it here. And whatever email will be like the last email, the latest email will be shown to the model here then. And then I ask the model, I just write a text and I tell the model, please check if there are any risks or project risks discussed in the mail. And I have two nodes. The first node is use the PMI framework for project risks. And the second point is, and this is very important, the second point, please respond true if there is a risk and false if not. So something like that. And at this point is very important because we really want the model to only output one word, true or false, because like if it's true, we need to go one way, adding the label, and if it's false, we need to go the other way, not adding the label. And with that prompt, we can now execute the step, and we see, so the model is executing now. That always takes a little while. And we see the model does it correctly. It outputs a lot of information, not only the true and false, but it also outputs the true, as you can see here. So the answer is correct because the email, as you remember, is it seems our supplier is overloaded. They do not reply to my mails anymore. What shall we do in case of a delay? So true is the output. And now we need to, like the next step I want to do is to keep the overview is to filter out the true only. So we don't take all the data throughout our pipeline. I only want to have the true, and we can do that with a edit fields node. So we click here on the plus again. So the next step, and type in edit field or set. I like set is shorter for me. And here I'm using the JSON format. So mode JSON, and you can call the field contains risk. And add a value, and the value would be the true, right? Like the only important thing for you. I need to put it on the right position. So behind the contains risks or contains risk. And when I execute the step, I only have contains risk true. So this is what we have here. And there are two informations that we need later on to give the label. The first one is the information if it contains a risk. The second one is the ID of the mail that we just received. And getting the ID of the mail, we can get from the Gmail trigger. So we need to have a parallel path here, getting the ID from the mail directly when it's triggered. And therefore, we also use an edit field because a lot of information is coming from the Gmail trigger, and we only need the ID. So I use the set again, using JSON again as mode, and I call it email or mail ID. And for the value, we use the ID, which we see like here, there's a lot of information, but we only need the ID to give it a label later on. So I put the ID here. And if I execute the step, we see mail ID is this ID. And now these two informations, the mail ID and the information if the model contains a risk, need to be merged. So that's the next step. I can press plus here and use the merge node. And now we need to combine the two, so not appending it. So it's not appending it to a list, but combining it. And combining it by position. So the first mail ID corresponds to the first Boolean that shows if there's a risk or not. So in this merge step takes two inputs, so we're merging those two. And if I execute this now, like the model has to re-execute in this case, we see there's one item coming out, and this item contains the mail ID and it contains the risk. So it contains the information if there's a risk contained in the email. And then the last step, two steps left. Next step is to add a switch to stop the flow if there's no risk. So if there's no risk in the mail, we want to stop the flow here. And that can be done with switch. And the switch, we take, we say the flow can go on if the risk, so here contains risk, is equal to true. So we go to Boolean and to true. And if we execute it, we see there is an output. So if there would be no risk contained, so if contained risk would be false, the flow would stop here. And the last item then would be creating the label. So here we see one item is going on, and we can add a label, and that is done with Gmail again. Outlook has the same nodes, and we search for label. And we select add label to message. And the credentials are all, again, the credentials for my Gmail account. And the ID of the message is, of course, the ID of the mail that we have. So the input of this node contains the ID of the mail and the Boolean. And then we can select the label that it should get. And now I'm quickly going to my Gmail account, and you see I already created a label here. So when you go to your Gmail account, you can see the labels that you have down here under labels, and I created a risk label already. But most of you won't have a risk label, so if you want to get one, you need to click on create new label, and then it's easy to create a new risk label for that. And as I have a risk label already, it is directly shown here under the labels. So it shows me all my labels here, and the risk label is part of it. And now the flow is finished, and I can execute the whole flow again. So getting the latest mail, from here. So I can execute a workflow. It gets the latest mail. It executes the model to check if there's a risk related in this mail. And we go on throughout the path. And in the end, add the label to the message. And when I go to my messages now and reload the page, it has the label risk now. And now this should, of course, happen automatically. And the workflow is executed every minute when I press publish. So when I press publish here and click on publish, now it's active, and now whatever mail is coming in gets processed directly. And you can, if you like, you can test it. I can test it myself as well. Well, where can I send you? Here I got it. So I can give you the mail address that is connected to the Gmail account. So this is the mail that's currently not in use. So you can also spam it. This is the mail address behind it. And whatever mail comes in is then checked by the workflow for risks. So I can also write another mail that doesn't contain a risk or shouldn't contain a risk to my mail from another mail account here, saying coffee invitation or something. Let's have a coffee. Let's have a coffee. And send it out. And as soon as it arrives, it should be checked as well. So seeing if it already arrived. Always takes a while for mails to really arrive. Here, like Emma sends another mail, coffee invitation. And then in my workflow, you can see the executions here. The last execution has been scheduled for 19:03, so 3 minutes ago. So it hasn't been picked up. But as I said, like every minute, it should at least pick up mails and check if there are new mails available. Checking here. Reload it. Yeah, see it's running currently and succeeded. And what you see now is that the mail was picked up. We can click on the mail and see the mail is let's have a coffee. And the model decided then that this is not a risk. So it puts the text on false and the information is merged. And then the switch decides that there should be no output. So as the risk contained equals false and it's not true, there's no output, and this is where the flow stops and no label is added to the message. Yeah, and this is quite practical in projects to see what risks or what mails are concerned by risks. So before you have a risk meeting and discuss the risks with your team, it's always nice to first go through your mails and see if there are risks detected by the model and to judge yourself if that really is a risk or not. So now I talked a lot. Are there any questions so far?
Yes, Patricia.
So the first one would be security. I mean, you put all your data about the email. It's reading all your emails. Okay, as an external project manager, I cannot imagine that I am able to do something like this for a customer.
Yeah, it depends, of course, on the customer, but I guess at some point it's going to be reality. And what you can do, I mean, it depends on the customer, definitely, but what can be done is using the API key of the company. So companies often have their own API keys,
Okay.
which they for which they have certain conditions within the model supplier, like OpenAI or Gemini or whatever. And the interesting thing about N8N is that it's very easy to roll it out locally. So you can very easily run it on a local server within that company, N8N, and then the only thing that goes out is like is concerned by the API key of the company. Yeah.
Okay, and the second one would be what about the risk identification? I mean, it's something that is working very well because it's already trained, or it's something that you have to train by yourself because it's from scratch?
Like this case, it's not trained, but it's based on the prompt, right? Like you tell it to use the PMI framework. And here, the important part is that you become a little more specific, right? Like what risks are you interested in? Also maybe giving examples in the prompt helps a lot for the model to identify the risks that you also want to see in the end. So this is a very simple example in this case, with the simple prompt here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think that also answers the question of Dauer L, which asks, do you need any kind of training data to kind of verify the workflow?
Yeah. Well, verifying the workflow is important, of course. In this case, it does, like it's not really verified, right? Like this is for everybody to test, and you have one would have to verify oneself, right, if it's working or not. And this is always the kind if you implement the AI yourself, right? It's on the one who implements it to check how well it works. Yeah.
And then another comment we have that says seems very helpful for personal use, but at a large company, such tools are often not permitted. What alternatives would be suitable in that environment?
N8 like N8N is actually often permitted. This is the good part about N8N, because N8N can be deployed locally. Like we use the server version now for the demo or for the little example, but N8N is very easy to deploy on whatever system you have, because it's open source and you can run it on any server, and some companies already have it within their servers. Yeah.
Then we have another question. Your prompt based on the PMI framework, from where it gets access to this framework, you have to feed it with some library or context?
Well, also a very good question. Thank you. LLMs do have a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, but sometimes the knowledge is not very deep. So the model is expected to become better if you feed it the part of the framework that you're also very interested in. So you can ask ChatGPT about the risk framework of the PMI, and it will output something. And but if you have a text that states exactly what you're expecting, putting that into the prompt will help a lot.
It's very good.
Yeah. Yeah, pleasure. So I would say, let's go on to the last part of the presentation. I think we have 10 more minutes. Is that true?
Yes.
Exactly. And the last part of the presentation is then the demo of IQ. Let me just quickly show you the picture on what to just prime you on what you have to expect. So IQ is a prime example of a communication-based project management AI integrating the communication in the project, so messages, emails, meetings, with the with artifacts or project management tools like the planning, reporting, risks, resources, and so on. And when opening IQ in the browser, this is what you see. The first thing you see is the project portfolio that we have. So as you can see, I have 3 projects here. The lower 2 are used, like we use that internally within IQ to manage ourselves. And for demo, I often show the SAP Tableau integration. So this is a typical IT project where 2 IT platforms, SAP and Tableau, are integrated. So let me quickly show you how it is set up. So just by clicking Edit Project here, I can see the parameters that are used to initialize that project. I gave it a small description, just saying that we are integrating the 2 IT systems, SAP, everybody knows most probably, and Tableau, which is a data analytics, data science platform. We give it a deadline, and I defined the stakeholders. So myself, the project manager, and we have a business analyst, data scientist, and SAP developer. And when opening this project, by clicking on it, a project planning opens. And we have it as a Gantt chart here. It's also possible to visualize it as a Kanban board, but we stay in Gantt now. And the big difference between the Gantt chart here and the Gantt charts you already know from other tools is that the Gantt chart shows you where it's not up to date anymore. So you see the data security assessment of Gregor has that little sign up here, which says that the AI has a proposal to make here. And if I click on the AI proposals, it opens up in the side panel, and you see that the AI proposes to shift the deadline. So the original deadline was the 4th of April. It should be shifted to the 29th of March. And there's an email linked to this proposal. And when I click on that email, I see that the AI read a mail. So it's in my inbox. Jonas sent me that mail. And Jonas told me that he booked a penetration test at Pen4Sys. So for those in the IT, like in IT projects, you most probably know what a penetration test is. For the others, a penetration test is actually a security test where external hackers come to your company and test the new software product that you have in terms of security. So they try to hack it and have a report at the end. Therefore, of course, there's a time window when the penetration test will take place with that external company when they come. And what Jonas says is that therefore the data security assessment must be finished before the penetration test takes place. And so the data security assessment, that's the task that we clicked up on, so which needs to change. And we already see the penetration test here in pale. Obviously, the data security assessment must be the deadline must be shifted to an earlier point in time. So when I click here on accept, the new deadline is accepted, and you see the project plan is updated. And now the penetration test is pale. That means that it's only a proposal. It's not in the final project planning yet. And by clicking on it and clicking on the proposal, you can see what the AI proposes in terms of status, start date, deadline, assignees, predecessors as well, and comments on where the task is coming from. And when clicking create, it's really put into the project planning and treated as a normal task. And now this is something that, throughout my project management career the last years, and also in discussion with other project managers, I recognize a lot is very crucial, because information is there, but often somehow it's forgotten or it's not recognized. And the data security assessment is put to the wrong sprint, and suddenly the pen testers are there. However, nobody checked the data security beforehand. And what then happens is that the penetration test fails because not even internally things were checked, which means that you have to reschedule the penetration test because you cannot roll out the software without having a successful penetration test. which also means that you have to reschedule it and wait for the new time window that you get, which might often be 3 months or something like that. You need to check the budget, which is necessary to conduct the penetration test and so on. So such things like putting the data security assessment to the right sprint, or if it's Kanban or sprint, or positioning it right in the planning is very crucial in the end. And there's one more feature I want to show. When zooming in, you see the data security assessment is assigned to Gregor. However, the penetration test and the email that we got was written by Jonas. And the AI recognized that Gregor was not in the loop for all the communication that we had here. And whenever the AI recognizes that there's an unclarity or something needs to be cleared up, or someone is not in the loop, it proposes mails. So when clicking here on the proposal mails, we see one proposal mail is there. And when following the link, we get to my mail account. So it's not the AI writing the mail, it's the project manager writing the mail, but the mail is already prepared in my mail account here. And you see it's addressed to Gregor, and it's asking Jonas, it's asking Gregor, or it's explaining Gregor the situation with the penetration test and asking him to prioritize this task to meet the deadline. This can also, like I would say, I would formulate it a little bit nicer, maybe asking, is that fine? But you can write whatever you want, right? That email just opens in your mail browser and you will send it out, not the AI. So this is about how IQ works. I have one more little thing I want to show. Because what we saw now is how mails can be integrated with your project planning. But there are also other communication channels. So you see email is integrated, but Slack is also an option here. And what else is an option is meetings. So whenever you're in a meeting, it's possible to record the meeting with this record button here. So I'll do that for a quick demo now and share. And in this meeting, we will discuss now something for a demo purpose. And in this case, we say that the user acceptance test needs to be extended. So it will take until the 19th of April because of holidays in the business department. But it also means that the go live needs to be, at least the start date of the go live needs to be shifted to the beginning of week 17, so the 20th of April. And because we cannot start the go live without having a successful user acceptance test. So if anyone on your side wants to add something and test the AI, you can do that. Maybe tasks to add or things to change in our simulated meeting.
Or we can proceed the conversation in another call, designated session on practical application on this. Still, I think people will be interested. If there are such, please raise your hand so we know and assess. And while we have here Oliver, we can schedule the upcoming call.
Oh, that's true.
Anyone? Yeah. And I'm asking to raise your hands because the automated count will tell me how many people want to have a follow-up session. We focus more on practical application. And I think it's up to Oliver to design it, and perhaps we can suggest several use cases, or Oliver, you can suggest several use cases. We can use our group chat or actually our LinkedIn group, and people can vote on which type of cases you can work, prepare, and everyone will know what are the expectations that they'll receive.
But I see I'm a little over time now. So but very good initiative to do it this way. So you see, from the little demo meeting that I did, by pressing here the record button, the AI recognized user acceptance test should be extended a little bit, and go live needs to be a little later. And yeah, and there is also like, see, the AI also got the information that there's a connection here, right? Like a dependency. No, then I would keep it this way.
Yes, because we are coming very close to the end of the session, and this was very good on the spot scoping to see the interest of the people. And they have been repeatedly asking us to bring more experts on AI, hands-on experience, not just theories. And this is exactly what you did here. And really, I'm mind blown.
Thank you.
And I would love to see you again to share your experience, but also help support a lot of professionals who are here, who are probably also wondering, like I do, how can I do this in my work? How can I support my work with these tools? And I saw that some of them are using Boolean, which is very IT oriented, and maybe it's not super user friendly for beginners. And if you can share some guidance and tools or documentation and materials that we could read in, that the attendees can read beforehand, so they can come prepared on the sessions.
Yeah, sure. Next time I can do that. Yeah.
Fantastic.
No, great. I'm happy to have held this presentation. I will skip the wrap up. I think the important parts are still remembered, and not sure if we have some time left for the Q&A, but I would say that's on you, Maria.
Yes, I would. If there are any questions, I would rather answer the questions that our participants have. If not, we can jump on the rest of the presentation we have, sharing the Mentimeter, also the upcoming events, and the
Yeah, please.
Yes, sorry.
Then do that.
And still, if anyone has any questions, we can jump in quickly on the questions. If not, I'll proceed. Thank you, Oliver. This was really inspiring. As I said, no matter how many times I say to myself, or I'm sure the attendees can agree, that we are using correctly AI or sufficiently, this was very good indication that I'm not using it enough. And this is the point where this is a good self-assessment for many of us, that there are so many unexplored avenues with AI that we can support our work. This is the link or the QR code for the Mentimeter. It's just one slide where we want to know your opinion about the session, the presenter, the topic, etc. It will give us an indication how we're doing with our work. And I see raised hands. I don't know if that's from my previous request or their questions. I'll just go and ask. Peter, Kai, both Peter Reinders and Planstedt, Lana Rosene. I'm sorry if I butchered your names.
No, it was just asked that we raise the hands for a follow-up session.
Perfect. You are part of it. Amazing. And keep an eye on the sessions, because we will organize.
Have you count? So it's already decided and you have counted. Okay, good.
I think it was quite a quorum, and yes, it was. As long as Oliver is aligned with that.
I'm happy to give a follow-up session, definitely.
Fantastic, putting him on the spot here. Great. I don't see any updates on the on the QR code. Stellar results, 4.9, 4.7, 4.8. I'll share the results on a thank you email that everyone receives after the session, including our speaker. I'll go to the next slide to make sure that I cover the upcoming events, and you make sure that you register them. On the 19th of March, we're going to have chat with Sunil Prashara. Then on the 30th of March, we'll have a roundtable. If you're in the area of Darmstadt, please join us. And on the 24th of April, already we have scheduled a event about ethics of automated language model with Munina Tunkar. Stay tuned about the follow-up sessions that we'll organize with Oliver. It's not going to be probably immediately because we have to arrange it based on his availability, but we'll make it more practical. We'll focus on the hands-on experience. And just before closure, this is the team that organizes such events for you. We are always open for more volunteers. We're 7 volunteers from 6 different countries. And this chapter proves that the gears that makes the chapter goes forward is entirely on the volunteering effort. And that's why it's the best place if you want to grow professionally or learn from experienced practitioners, give back to the community and be part of an international network. Join us. And without further ado, many of you need to keep up with your certifications, and this is the PDU code that you can screenshot, or you can still receive it on the thank you email if you didn't make it.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well, right? Like you're a great team, and it's a great format that you have. Very organized, very structured. I like it a lot. And also thanks a lot to the audience for for taking part in the presentation so actively.
Thank you, Oliver, for accepting our invitation and for making time for us to share your wisdom, your experience, and your knowledge. Thank you also for the participants for joining and engaging with the topic, contributing, making questions with the speaker. And that's exactly the environment we are creating here for exchanging experience and making questions for other people who do not dare to do the questions. They will indirectly learn from us. We appreciate you spending time, as I say, and have a wonderful evening. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Stay tuned for the upcoming events. Thank you again, Oliver.
Thanks a lot. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.
Have a nice evening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Oliver. Have a nice evening.
Have a nice evening.
You too. Have a
Bye-bye.
nice evening.
Have a nice
Bye-bye.
evening. Goodbye.
Good night.